You've been warned. This video is not for the faint of heart. Number 8. In December 2022, a woman named Sarah shared a series of videos on social media taken by her home security cameras. Her mother had recently installed the cameras in their home. Within a few days of having the cameras, Sarah started receiving notifications of motion detection. Upon reviewing the footage, she noticed a man walking around the outside of their house. He seemed to know the exact layout of the property and was looking into different windows, including hers. Sarah called the police to report the man, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. The police advised Sarah to keep her windows, curtains, and blinds closed at all times. She was worried that the man might return, so she set up a trap by stringing a piece of rope between two trees outside her window. Sarah and her mother went to the window, opened the curtains, and banged on the glass to scare the man off. They called the police, but once again, the man was gone by the time the officers arrived. Fearing for their safety, Sarah and her mother eventually moved to a new home. They never received any updates from the police, leaving them to believe that the man was never caught. Number 7. This doorbell camera captures the moment of a devastating explosion in Dallas in July 2022. It was early in the morning, around 4 a.m., when residents were jolted awake by a loud boom. The cause of the explosion was later determined to be a gas leak originating from a nearby appliance that wasn't properly turned off. Luckily, no one was inside the home at the time of the blast, and there were no reported injuries. However, the impact of the explosion was significant, causing significant damage to the house and the surrounding area. Windows of nearby apartments were shattered, and parked cars were damaged from flying debris. Authorities received numerous calls from panicked residents moments after the explosion. Number 6. This video was posted to TikTok in November of 2022. The uploader described how he was awakened at 2:30 by the notifications from his doorbell camera. The footage showed a masked man with a drawn-on mustache approaching his front porch and trying to open the windows and door. In response, the homeowner quickly dressed and went outside to confront the intruder. The homeowner then called police to report the incident. However, the masked man was never identified, as the uploader never provided an update. Number 5. This video was recorded at 3 a.m. on November 13, 2022. 3 individuals are shown in front of a house with masks that resemble those seen in the movie The Purge. One of the men notices the doorbell camera and promptly covers it with his hand. For a majority of the video, only his glove is visible. But for a split second, the camera captures all three men up close. They're seen huddled against the wall and crouching low, trying to stay out of sight of anyone inside. The homeowner is jolted awake by the motion detection notifications on his phone. Not realizing he had missed the earlier footage, he uses the speaker to try and identify the individuals on his front porch.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Despite his efforts, the men don't respond. Fearing for his safety, the homeowner calls the police, but by the time the authorities arrive, the men have already fled. Some speculate the men were attempting to trick the homeowner into opening the door so they could rob him. What their plan was once they entered the house remains a mystery. Number 4. Beware. After seeing this, walking your dog will never be the same. Watch this. This video was recorded in December 2021 in a suburban neighborhood. Sarah had just returned from a walk with her dog when her doorbell camera captured her taking off the dog's leash. Suddenly, Sarah looks off to the right, causing her to quickly pick up her dog and rush inside. A man enters the frame and approaches the front door. Sarah had managed to lock the door just in time. The man is then seen putting on gloves and carrying zip ties. He continues to try the doorknob multiple times, looking into the house through the windows. Sarah's neighbor, John, eventually comes outside, causing the man to pick up a garden hose and act as if he's doing yard work. Once John goes back inside, the man moves around to the back door and tries to force it open. Sarah quickly locks herself in a room and calls the police. By the time the authorities arrive, the man has already tried breaking into almost every window of the house. He broke off the screen on one of the back windows but was unsuccessful in getting inside. The man had already fled the scene by the time police arrived, and there wasn't much they could do at that point. Sarah posted the video on TikTok in hopes that someone could identify the man. However, as far as she could find, no one was able to. Number 3. This next story takes place in December in a small town of Maple Falls, where a 12-year-old named Jacob was walking home from his karate practice. It was around 7 p.m. when he noticed a suspicious-looking black SUV slowly following him. Jacob started walking faster, but the SUV caught up, and the two men inside offered him candy from the back seat. Jacob knew something was off and continued to walk even faster. He finally arrived at his home where a doorbell camera captured the whole encounter. As Jacob approached the door, the SUV could be seen in the background. He tried the front door, but it was locked. Just then, the SUV's reverse lights turned on and it started heading towards him. Jacob was quick to react and ran to his neighbor's house, where he let himself in and locked the door behind him. The SUV followed Jacob, but eventually it drove away. Jacob's family called the police and a report was made. The family and the police believe the men were trying to kidnap Jacob that night. Before we get to number 1, subscribe to our Fright Zone channel now to ensure a steady stream of hair-raising content just like this. Number 2. This video shows a frantic mother and her children gathering their belongings in response to an evacuation order. It took place in the city of Millville, New Jersey, during a time when a massive wildfire was spreading rapidly. In the background, you can see the fire and smoke towering over the city as the family packs as quickly as possible, uncertain about how much time they have. Suddenly, a man sprints across the street, shouting that the fire is closing in.
Everyone evacuate, the fire's coming up!
The family quickly evacuates to a nearby hotel where they wait for the fire to subside. A few days later, they return to their home only to find that their house was one of the few structures that survived the disaster. Unfortunately, many of their neighbors were not so lucky, as numerous homes in the area were completely destroyed. Number 1. If you've ever walked home late at night, this video will leave a lasting impression on your mind. In this TikTok video, the uploader named Tia and her son Cruz are seen arriving home late at night. They open the front door and go inside, but as soon as they close the door, a man can be seen approaching the house. The man tries to open the door, but it's locked.
Go shower really fast. I need you to go shower. Please, Daniel. Who's that?
Tia looks outside and sees the man standing there with a blank expression on his face. She yells at him to leave, but the man takes a step back, but remains in front of the camera.
Who is that? Get out of here! Get out of here! There's a guy outside, look!
Tia becomes frightened and calls the police, but by the time they arrive, the man has already disappeared. It's unclear what the man's intentions were, but some believe he was following Tia and Cruz all the way home, while others believe he was waiting for them. Regardless, the situation is unsettling and raises questions about the man's motives.